Hi, my name's Emma.
And I'm Melissa.
And this is
What the hell did I just read?
So The Lighthouse was written by a woman named Virginia Woolf in 1927.
Yeah.
Oh, and one of the things that we notice is there's one particular character that we're going to talk about a lot, and she's Mrs. Ramsay, and she's actually probably, I would say, like, the most important.
She was incredibly prominent for the first two-thirds of the book.
Basically.
And then the book's been around for about 70 years, so I don't care about spoilers anymore. She died! And then we have the last third of the book.
It's like Disney, right? One of the parents had to die.
Of course.
It's
always
it might as well be that, yeah.
It's always the fun one.
And, so there's this, like, whole thing about, feminism in the 20s and, sort of women evolving into, like, independent people and there's no longer this, like, necessity to get married or anything. And there were sort of people, so there's that, and that's represented by one character, Lily
Bosco. I adore her. She's a painter and she don't need no man.
Even though Mrs. Ramsay's gonna try her hardest to get her one.
And then Mrs. Ramsay comes in. She's kind of this, like,
very
classic idea of what a woman is. She's like this sort of doting, I love my children, I love my marriage kind of person who is kind of like this she's kind of just like this, come here, let me hold you.
But she's not disrespectful towards Lily.
At all.
About it at all. They're sort of like...
She actually kind of really admires Lily for her independence. She's like... There's a point
but there's a little bit of, like, condescension, like, oh, you'll never marry, like, you poor...
She was kind of like, you're not that cute, I'm so sorry.
But at the same time, she's like, oh, but, like, you'll never marry.
At the same time, she's like, oh, but you'll never marry! How exciting!
That's great for you. You can do all of the things that I can't, you bitch.
Basically.
Love you. Aww. I love Mrs. Ramsay. She's like the ultimate mom.
She's like
everybody's mom. Everybody's mom is Mrs. Ramsay.
She kind of...
It's snack time.
She's really... Mrs. Ramsay throughout the entire book is fixated on by all the people in her life because of how beautiful she is.
Which I gotta say, after 8 kids... A+, Mrs. Ramsay.
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of the time, though, it seemed like they were almost less focused on how, like, her face was and more focused on how, like, the beauty she emanated. She was kind of like, ooh, shiny. Like, she's so nice and pretty and she makes me all happy.
She was a beautiful person from the inside.
There was a lot of, like, bits that was kind of like Mrs. Ramsay
in the very beginning.
Making people
Mr.
feel good
Chansey
about themselves.
Or whatever. Is it Chansey?
Carmichael.
No, it's the very beginning.
Tansley?
Tansley. Chansey is close.
You compound the first the first names and the last names.
We promise English is our first language. I also promise I normally have a better memory than this. No, I don't. You've seen enough of these. Why do I even try anymore? But no, so he has this whole thing, and I actually was like, whoa, dude. Shushy face. Because he's like, it's like
that chauvinist pig.
Well, it's not just that, but it's like, he's just like, dead ass.
Yeah.
And it's a little creepy.
He was like, I get to carry a pretty lady's bag.
I know.
I'm so important. And I was
specifically
like...
her bags, I think. Yeah. It wasn't just like, it was the fact that it was like...
I can carry Mrs. Ramsay's bag.
Her bags. And I was like, alright, dude.
Like, she's 8 people's mom. She's married. She's like, was she like 50 or 60 in the book? I don't remember. It was one of those 2 numbers.
Not a spring chicken is the general idea. But no, so they represent these two ideas of feminism that are, like, contrasting, but neither of them are wrong.
Exactly.
And, like, I'm gonna go on a little bit of a feminist right here, because the core of feminism, excuse me for a moment, because my shirt's running up. The core of feminism is the right to, like, to choose, to have, like, enough rights that we can choose. Because, like, there are people even still today that want to be stay-at-home moms.
Because it makes them happy.
Because it makes them happy, and
to.
because they, you know, they're, like, perfectly willing to do that. And
which is a hard freaking job, by the way.
No, I mean,
coming from babysitters, that's a hard job.
Like, I have to watch your kid for a few hours. I can't even imagine how you feel. Like,
yeah.
Which is why I'm more than happy to watch your kid for a few hours.
Yeah.
And then there are people like my mom, who took me to work with her as opposed to staying home, you know.
And then there are people like my dad who are all Mr. Mommy. So, like, it's about equality and everybody having their turn to stay up with the kids.
Mostly, no. But no, it's this whole idea of equality, and there's so much going on right now with, people are sort of really, in the past year trying to, like, combat rape culture and sexist ideals, which are, like, A+,
yeah,
bravo.
Fight those. Good job.
But it's also, the thing that I've noticed is the bad part of that is that you're getting this one-sided idea of what feminism is, which is, like, I hate men. I'm gonna move this closer so that you can actually see us. Like, I hate men, they're stupid, they're all rapists, like, you know, women are, like, more better, or
whatnot.
And whatnot. Like, this whole idea that somehow, you know, every woman has to be this way, this one, you know, this Rosie the Riveter kind of archetype, or she's not a real feminist.
Which I hate that idea.
I hate that idea. Like,
you can't.
I consider myself a feminist,
real
and the
feminist.
proportion of dresses to pants in my room right now is ridiculous. I have, like, 5-to-1. Mostly because I don't have one pair of pants.
You have, like, one pair of jeans.
I have, like, one pair of jeans.
I, like, helped you buy them. You have one.
I know. No, it's, oh god, it's so bad. But, like, no, it's just this thing. I like makeup, I like dresses.
And you're allowed.
But I also like, you know, riding horses and all hiking, and there's no one side to every person, and liking one thing doesn't mean that you can't be something, like, else.
That, and the idea that independence and femininity, like homemaking and stuff,
they can't be the same thing.
They're not mutually exclusive.
No, I mean, like,
you can have both, and
right.
that's part of the feminist thing. Like,
and it's just
being allowed, like, in general, just to be freaking allowed to be.
Now,
and,
because this has turned into a rape culture thing, and I'm just gonna go back and revise the statement. I said, you know, people think, like, all men are rapists. I do actually know people that are like, I assume that you're gonna rape me until proven otherwise, and I will never be proven otherwise. I know someone like that. I've had that conversation with her. However, that's actually not that bad of a state. Like, that's not, it's not wildly out of
it's
the
not
ballpark.
wrong.
It's not wrong. It's like,
how do I
there's no. It's not.
It's not wrong.
It's not crazy
to be cautious around
men that you don't know.
Yes.
Anytime, or like getting to know, or anything.
It's not wrong to be cautious around anyone you don't know. Stranger danger is a thing.
Stranger danger is a thing, and this is. I mean, but like this is specifically
to those of us
pertaining to rape culture
with the lady bits.
With the lady bits. Specifically to girls, Melissa. Actually, not specifically to girls, but
it's
like
because not everyone with lady bits.
Not
is
everyone's
lady.
lady bits is. Let's. You know what? Other videos or other topics that we could probably find a way to work in somewhere. No, it's just this. It's this whole thing, and how the traditional
Sexual violence is a thing, and you should be careful.
Exactly. All right. To sum it up,
but don't be afraid to go outside. That's not living.
All right. This is turning into something.
Here we go. We go.
Anyway, so this whole idea of like somehow being subservient makes you less or more feminine and more traditionally like feminine, and I'm gonna get married and have lots of kids and be a stay-at-home mom and be a homebody. Like, it doesn't make Mrs. Ramsey any less of a strong character, because
she had every individual who came to stay with her in her beautiful summer home was eating out of the palm of her hand.
I mean, it's true.
Not
it's
even
so
that she was
funny.
being manipulative. She was just kind of like...
she was just kind of that kind of person.
She was that kind of person, and to be honest, I feel like that's how she felt like she had control in her life.
Right.
Like,
I mean, like, her husband's not the greatest cookie.
He could be worse.
Ever. He could be a lot worse. I have read a lot worse husbands for people.
He could have been worse. He could have been way better.
No, I mean, he wasn't great. He wasn't horrible, but he wasn't great.
He was mediocre.
Especially in terms of like being I think he was a better husband than a father.
Much.
But when you are a mom, that sort of factors into everything. So I think there was a little bit of like
rifty things.
But no, I mean, there was a lot we could talk about with her.
Because Mrs. Ramsey seemed to bounce back and forth with being in love with him and thinking he was a pig.
Well, and I think to some extent that in any relationship, I'm sure there are times where you're like,
multifaceted people, like
no, I mean, I've had it happen where I'm just sitting there and I'm like, what? Really? Like, are you sure this is where you want to go? Okay. And then, most of the time, honestly, it's like, oh, yay, happy sunshine land. But
I enjoy your company.
I enjoy you. Now leave me alone.
You have been sufficiently enjoyed. You may leave now.
I'm like a cat. You pet me twice, and then I'm gonna scratch your face off.
There's one. I'm a sarcastic bitch.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, the other thing that we wanted to touch on, and we kind of started to, is this whole idea of sense of self in the book, and how a lot of people seem to need, like, and this is a society thing, but just like in relation to the Lighthouse, like some people, they need like a thing that's their thing that they do that gives them this idea of who they are, and they can't be
it sort
themselves
of seemed,
without this thing.
It seemed to me throughout the story that here and there, people would suddenly rally behind an idea in an effort to find a connection with someone else. Like, towards the end of the book, I found my best examples. And they were how Cam and James, two Mrs. Ramsey's youngest children, decided to make a pact to fight tyranny to the death.
Which is very Shakespearean.
Just a little.
Like, it's this very sort of old world idea. Mm-hmm. It's a good idea.
That's a fun plan.
I mean, like,
minus the death bit. But
but like the whole like
fight tyranny,
like Batman thing, A+.
Anyway, to fight tyranny to the death in reference to their father. And I could see the tyrannical bits. He was kind of just like, we're doing this because I said so. Their dad was kind of a grump.
Yeah. Well,
he was grump.
It's not like we know anyone else's dad. He's a grump. Not suggesting your father is Mrs. Ramsey. Mr. Ramsey. Wow. Mr. Ramsey.
Mr. Ramsey's a grump.
But no, I mean, there's like, and I'm not saying that that's not valid. I mean, like, we still do it. I mean, how would you feel if you had nothing to define you?
Yeah.
Like, or nothing to help define you. you know.
Because, like, then
You
later
don't have
Lily...
any hobbies, you don't have any...
Lily tried to rally kind of silently, mentally with Mr. Carmichael at one point over a mutually less fond of Mrs. Ramsay than everyone else kind of feels. So, like, they were just all kind of like, we need somewhere to belong. And for a lot of the time, in the beginning of the book, it seemed like Mrs. Ramsay was kind of like, you know, the lighthouse, the one with the beacon showing you where the shore was, kind of like, well, here, you can all be my guests.
Right.
Like, you can come here and I'll make you feel important and I will help you to find you. Like, she was kind of this great big, like, metaphorical landmark that was, like, this sort of, like, shiny... So, To the Lighthouse
Good
has
book.
a lot of themes.
It has a lot. I mean, there's a lot of, like, metaphors, and one of the... What is that doing? I'm not...
One of the lovely things about the Lighthouse is
The metaphor. No.
I was gonna say is it's the style in which it's written. It's written in this kind of like
Cerebral train of thought thing, which, and we actually talked about this in my class. I don't know if we talked about it at yours.
I
But,
feel that's what made it so hard to read. It was
well,
a hard read.
but
first
like
off.
we did it a little bit differently. I read it. I read this book.
I listened to it.
And then I was like, what is going on here? And then I listened to it, and I listened to it like the voice lady was telling me a story, and that helped so much with the understanding.
With comprehension.
Because if you think about it, we're talking right now. We're just talking at you. If this was a written thing, this would be...
You would be so confused.
You would be so confused right now. You would have no idea.
No retention, likely.
And
likely
no retention. Right. I mean, like,
Like, what did we just talk about? What are they rambling on for?
What's going on here? I don't
Where am I?
understand.
What year is this?
Also, throw in a whole bunch of words that we don't use the same way anymore.
Yeah.
And
you're dead in the water.
You're dead in the water. I mean, it's like this whole idea that, and it's a very feminine way of writing. I mean, like, I saw this a few years ago. Some comedian. I can emphasize the right syllable. But no, okay. This comedian was talking about how male brains and female brains are different, and how the male brain is like a series of boxes, like one of those apothecary walls that has all the little shelves, and you can open all the little boxes, and all the little boxes are different, like, subject matter, but guys can only have one, like, a certain number of boxes open at a time, maybe like one or two, depending. But the female brain is like a messed up ball of yarn where everything sort of is like knotted together and interconnected, and you can't quite tell where one thread begins and the next thread like comes in, and it's this whole idea, and that's sort of how
Virginia Woolf writes.
And
it's like
I mean,
everything
it's
connects, but you have to like pick through every last bit of string.
Yeah, and it's really, and eventually it like
follow
straightens
each one to
out.
its conclusion.
Right, eventually it straightens out. And that's you know, and because we were talking,
you have a nice little ball of yarn.
Yeah, eventually.
And it's gonna take a long time and multiple readings, but you'll eventually get it.
Yeah, I mean you will, and it's like, you know, I really liked it once I actually got what was going on.
Yeah, no, Virginia Woolf is a beautiful writer. I adore her.
I adore her.
It
also
is
because she was a bisexual feminist, but
who was a little
woohoo. But you know what? Everyone deserves love.
So we love her.
I've always had tremendous respect for her.
I enjoy her.
But yeah, so that's, I think, it for To the Lighthouse.
Yes.
We will
coming likely in the next few hours.
Likely in the next, well, few hours or a few days, depending.
Whichever. A small place.
Is A Small Place by Jamaica Kincaid.
It's gonna get racy again.
This book Did you do that on purpose?
Yes, because our friggin' Into the Heart of Darkness thing was all about race.
All about race and gender and spirituality.
And, oh my goodness. And now Jamaica Kincaid is just like, get off my island. And
hold on. Cat.
It's fascinating.
Cat.
Actually.
Kitty.
And also lots of things to discuss.
Look at the camera, Kitty.
This is a Hoshi. And that is a Hoshi running away.
Sorry, I love my cat. He's big though.
He's a beefcake.
And then we might do like a little mini-sode on this play that we're reading. Here, toss it.
Here we go.
Called
Stretching. Waiting for Godot.
It's
a...
Or as we like to say it, Godot.
Godot.
We are gonna go. We have to get ready for this art show thing that we're going to.
And edit.
And that is gonna be fun, because I don't know what
we done
are
effed up. We done effed up.
Alright. Bye.
Have a nice day. It didn't stop.
Can't stop it like that.